Welcome to class this morning. As you all know, my name is Ikediashi Precious. Um, my first name is actually Obehi. I just go by Precious because a lot of people find it difficult to actually pronounce my first name, so I just go by my middle name, Precious. As you all know, we've been on learning disability for this whole term since January. For this morning, I will be bringing to you on a particular topic on academic skills deficits and core cognitive processes. So I will quickly just share my screen. Give me a few minutes to quickly share my screen as I present this. All right, so this morning, just like I said, we'll be talking about academic skills deficit and core cognitive processes. I work with Frisco ISD here in Texas, and I'm a special education teacher. And for the past few years, I have been working with students having learning disabilities of various kinds. And one of those category is also um, in the area of dyslexia, comprehension, and other area like math calculation or math problem solving and written expression. But this morning, I'm going to zoom in on word reading level, which is dyslexia. Academic deficit skills for learners identified with ALD in majorly in word reading, which is dyslexia. Learners who have discrepancies in cognitive processing and phonological working memory also often have difficulties with word reading and spelling. Sometimes I ask myself, how is working memory, related to reading? So in the course of this course since January, I've realized that they are all connected. They are all like a puzzles that you fit together to make a piece. So academic deficits, is largely related to working memory or cognitive processes. So this morning, that is what we are going to quickly talk about. So when we talk about academic deficit skills or academic skill deficits, especially in word recognition or word level reading, it has different components that contributes to this. And one of those components is cognitive processing or phonological working memory. So that is what my slide is going to be focused on. And this presentation will help us to actually understand how these components are connected to academic skills. So when we talk about academic skills deficit, I know we have questions, we have students who have difficulty in word reading, in spelling, written expressions, math calculation, and all of the above, right? So this morning, just like I said, I am going to actually zoom in on word reading and spelling. In the later chapters, we're going to cover the math problem solving, math computation, written expression, and all of that. So this morning, word reading, which is also referred to as decoding, because when we teach dyslexia, we're actually teaching kids where we are providing dyslexia instructions. We are actually teaching kids how to decode. It's beyond just reading those words. I don't know if you've ever checked a dictionary and for a pronunciation of a word and the dictionary, there are those letters that they put there on how to actually open your mouth, how your mouth moves when you say the sound or when you break down those sound to make a word. So that is what decoding is all about. And decoding or what level reading is difficulty with accuracy, fluency, and automaticity of single word decoding, which impacts reading words, both in isolation and text. This is as a result of deficits in letter-sound relationship. I don't know if you've ever had students, though they know all of their letters, right? And they know all of their sounds, but they are not able to blend them. They don't have that cognitive ability to actually um, understand that there is a relationship between sound and letter. That is why when you tell us, oh, what word is this? You say a word, maybe you say, oh, a cat. What is the beginning sound? They just give you a random sound because they can't put the relationship together. And another aspect that we're going to talk about is spelling. Spelling is actually different from written expression. Spelling is the ability to encode, right? Those sounds that you know how you put them into words, how to put them together to actually make a word that is encoded. Difficulty, before I move, decoding, encoding. Coding is like you feed it, you did when you're using a computer, right? Like in the computer is what you feed in that comes out. So decoding is what you feel in, what you process. What you process. Encoding is the ability to actually give out that input. So spelling is the difficulty in connecting letters to sound to write a word due to the inability to recognize words in isolation, which requires a multi-dynamic skills, like multi-determined skills. It's not just one way. You have to have all of these other pieces, to be able to make a word. And all of these, from my reading, I can realize that from the research that they are all linked to phonological awareness or cognitive and phonological awareness and cognitive processes. I don't know if you have ever thought about what is actually cognitive processes, or when we talk about phonological awareness, what does it mean? So phonological awareness is the metacognitive understanding of sound. We call them phonemes, which is the smallest unit of a word, smaller unit of a word of speech, the phonemes, the sound. Then we have the graphic, which is the letters. That is where we have the alphabetic, that comes from the alphabetic principles as well, the ability to understand letters, that's letters make sound. Then we have the phoneme. The phoneme is the word itself. And we have the RAN, which is the rapid automated naming of letters, ability to quickly name letters. So all of these various components actually linked back. If you check my diagram, they all link back to word reading and spelling. I will quickly just read through the notes that I have here. It says the two academic skills deficits that majorly characterize children with dyslexia is the difficulty with accuracy and of fluency, which is the automaticity of single word decoding and spelling. So to fully understand dyslexia, we need an international cross-linguistic reference, which is very essential because different orthographies reflect different level of formation depending on the sound pattern, letter and sound corresponding. What that means is that if you pick a child, that speaks, whose first language is Spanish, or when you have words written in Spanish, like for me, I'm from Africa, there are some graphemes in in um in my country. We call them, though, like the graph and all of that. We have a lot of them. They're like up to 44, right? So like the GH stands. So if I come to this country and you're presenting, and all of these are not present in your word, it becomes difficulty. So before we can say a child has dyslexia, we have to um, cross reference all of the linguistic background to be able to differentiate if that child has dyslexia or not. So the inability to decode words in isolation also impacts spelling. Spelling is a multidynamic skill, just like I said, requiring other processes like the cognitive and phonological awareness. The distinction between word reading and spelling is very important because word recognition imparts the ability to spell. Impart the ability to spell. I'm sorry, let me take out this double. Core cognitive involves phonological awareness, a metacognitive, which makes, when I first got to this country, when I was taking my spec test, this question, they'll ask me, okay, what is the meaning of metacognition? And I'm like, oh, what is metacognition? And the simple definition they gave me was thinking about thinking. And that has never left my consciousness or my subconsciousness ever since then. Thinking about thinking. Most of our students with dyslexia, they lack the ability to actually think about their own thoughts. And that is where the working memory comes in, right? Thinking about thinking, thinking about what you're learning, the ability to understand the words we hear based on the sounds. There are most kids with dyslexia, you think they hear you, you tell them, oh, cat, cat. Oh, it's cat, it's cat. But when you tell them what is the beginning sound, they tell you because they are not able to understand or process the sound that they just hear, and that is metacognition. So deficit in metacognitive ability can also impact their ability to read. The sound, the sound they hear, the phoneme, which is the word. So just like I said, the deficit in metacognitive causes deficit in word level reading and spelling. And that would take me to the next slide, which is the working memory. There is this image that I put there. If you look at this image carefully, let me increase it so you can see very well. Hold on 1 minute. Let me just. Okay. So this image, I got it from the website. The link is down there. I'm going to share my slide with you. When you see the slide, you can just click on that link. That is where I got this image from. And it says the ability to temporary working memory is the ability to temporarily hold and manipulate information for cognitive tasks performed in our daily lives. So everything that we do daily requires our working memory. Some people have a very good working memory, some don't. So that is where we start to notice, deficits in different areas. It might not even just be academic skills, it might be behavior and all of that. So deficit in working memory, we're going to find out soon if it if it has impact on word level reading. Working memory holds information for a few seconds. It is temporary. The working memory can hold only 5 to 7 items at a time. It has a small capacity. Working memory holds and manipulates information. Working memory depends on control of attention and mental effort. So I'm just going to go back to, give me a few minutes. I need to zoom in a bit, zoom out. So the questioner is, does working memory impact academic deficits? For example, in word level reading. Yeah, according to Fletcher, working memory is a major cognitive process that is significantly related to word recognition skill and to dyslexia. So if you read that chapter, it has a lot of information that I may not be able to share now. So working memory, there are different components of working memory. And some scholars like Kudo, Loser, and Swansea 2015 argued that these different components of working memories contribute to the deficit in academic skills like word level reading. And we have, when you go down on other topics that we're going to cover with my other colleagues, they're going to elaborate on the different hypotheses that are related to phonological or working memory. So working memory, does it impact word level reading? Yes. So I went further to break it down for you so you fully understand when we talk about working memory, what does it mean? We have short-term memory, we have executive processing of functioning, we have the visual, spatial memory, and we have the verbal memory as well. So all of these, according to our reading for this week, there are some hypotheses that were tested, and some of those hypotheses came out to that all of these different types components of working memory, they have considerably they are considerably moderators or contributes to dyslexia. Deficits in any of this memory, depending on the severity, impacts what level reading dyslexia. Then just like I said before, metacognition is a very key factor or in working memory, right? Is the ability to think about your own thinking. If your working memory is accurate, then we will be able to think about our own thinking. Thinking about and understanding sound-letter relationship is embedded in our working memory, which is the executive phonological processing, visual, spatial memory, and all of that I have, that I know that is in my diagram. So I've been teaching special education for 5 years, and I can tell you that each time I read through FIEs for kids who are, diagnosed to have SOD in reading or in dyslexia, I've always observed that there is a pattern. When you check all of the G's, Alison, all of the components of the test, all of the battery assessment and all of that, you see that whenever their cognitive is low, maybe their cognitive pattern is low, like the working memory, we're not talking about the short-term memory, we're not talking about the phonological awareness memory and all of that. I've seen a correlation, I've seen a relationship, I've seen a pattern, on all of this that I've just easily concluded, oh, when a student has short-term memory, right, that they are going to have dyslexia. That is how I've viewed it over the years. And I think I'm not so wrong from this assumption. I strongly believe it, that working memory impacts what level reading and other academic deficits, even behavior. You see some kids, they are hyper, there's ADHD, because they are not able to think about their behavior, which is the metacognitive that we talked about. And that metacognitive is also embedded in our working memory. So when you connect all of the pieces together, just like I said, it's like a puzzle. So when you connect all of these little pieces together, then you realize that they all work together, which is the working memory, and in turn affects, depending on the severity of your deficit in working memory, that will determine the severity of the dyslexia in any learner. I don't know if you have any question. If you have any question, please refer to our reading material for this week, which is the Flink chart. I'm using the Kindle edition of the Flink chart 2017. So if you still have any question, you can please refer to that material for further clarification of things. Have a great day, and thank you for joining me this morning, and thank you for listening. This presentation will also be linked to this Zoom presentation will be linked to the Google slide. So please, as you read through the Google slide, don't forget to also click on the link to this presentation. And have a great day. God bless you. Bye.